Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Creative Insider podcast number 59 with me, Georgi. In this podcast episode, I had the pleasure and honor to talk with a German architect and currently design lead at Bjarke Ingels Group, BIG, Viktoria Millentrup. Viktoria has started at the company as an intern after her bachelor in Münster, Germany, where she comes from. And in Copenhagen, after several failed attempts, she completed the master program of CITA, which is the Center for Information Technology and Architecture at the Royal Academy. After a few other experiences after graduation, she joined back BIG in the role of design lead for the project The Plus. What can I say? What a background! But before we start the conversation, I want to thank you for listening to this podcast, and I want to remind you that if you want to support us, you can do that for free by subscribing to the platform you're listening to and by leaving a good review if that's a possibility. If you would like to stay in touch with us, which is very important also because in these crazy times we can always lose our social media, join our newsletter, which you can join on the website thecreativeinsider.com, where you can also listen to this podcast. And by doing so, you're getting a free guide about how to organize your digital filing system. Another great way to support us is by spreading the word with your friends, colleagues, family, or other people who might enjoy this podcast. And you can follow our social media channels, which are Instagram at TCI Podcast and the LinkedIn page, The Creative Insider. It's important for us to keep improving the quality of this podcast and become more and more professional, improve our audio quality, and we want to move into video and also to be possible to keep doing this podcast and be free in what we say and who we invite. If you have the possibility, you can give us a little boost also by subscribing our Patreon, where you'll be able to support us with $5 a month or the wished amount of money from you. And as soon as possible, we will be announcing some perks for all the patrons on our Patreon platform. You'll find the link below. But enough introduction. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the conversation with Viktoria Millentrup.
The whole world stops just like that.
Hello, Viktoria. How are you?
I'm great.
Welcome. Finally, we're managing to do the podcast. I thought for some before it was in a holiday for a couple of weeks, and then we were supposed to do the chat before. Then it needed to be postponed for some bureaucratical technical issues. And I was worried that I'm not gonna be able to be chatting to you, but luckily we managed. So thank you for participating on the podcast.
You're welcome. Finally.
So it's nice to have you on. You can introduce yourself a little bit to the audience for the people who don't know you.
Yes, I'm Viktoria. I'm 31. I'm currently working for Bjarke Ingels in Copenhagen. And I am a design lead architect. And I have different projects at the moment, but one that was released or like public, went public last year was The Plus, which is like a factory in Norway that is getting built. And it's halfway through it. And I'm very lucky that I could be part from first design sketch until the handover of the keys, basically in December. So I'm very excited that I could go through the whole process. And I graduated basically only 2 years ago. So it's exactly almost 2 years ago now, in June 2019. Yeah, and this is where I am now.
Nice. So basically, we graduated the same year. Just I didn't speed up my career so quickly as you do, and I've been looking forward to talking to you, and I discovered you through LinkedIn. I think by accident somehow, through some of the projects of Bjarke Ingels Group. I don't remember how. And I've been criticized that I haven't had enough ladies on the podcast as a guest, and I always say I don't like, they don't come, and if I do invite ladies, they should be like kicking ass like you are. So
thank you.
So it's important also like to find the right people that accept and that are have the right so to say background. But we always start all the conversation from the very beginning of each guest. So I'm curious for which reason in your life or when in your life you thought, I want to be an architect, or I want to be a designer, I want to pursue a career in this field.
I think it's not as spectacular probably as some people would tell the story of them being a kid and playing with Lego and finding out, oh my God, I want to be an architect. For me, it was like I always wanted to do music, or I wanted to become a singer. And my parents weren't very fond of it. They thought like, when you're, I don't know, 8 years old or 12 years old, and they still found it funny that I had that dream. And when I was like 16, 17, they got a little bit scared, and they thought like, no, better not. And then it was a little bit of a compromise. So I still wanted to do something creative. I was also drawing a lot or painting a lot, doing music. So it would be something artistic that I would follow. And the only thing they could agree on was architecture, because there was still something that's hands-on, you know. I wouldn't be poor on the street, at least what they thought. What they thought back then. I think it's actually a little bit different in the business. But yeah, so it was more like an agreement of me and my parents that didn't want to see me doing anything else creatively.
I think that's a common mistake to confuse like when architecture is some lucrative job where if you're creative you can become rich, but it sounds more it sounds more like regular way of living than all the other purely artistic fields. And so you were around your teenage years when you realized you wanted to move to switch to this field, or I understood wrongly?
I think it was more like when I finished high school. I was not really sure what to study then, and then I went a little bit like backpacking and traveling, like a lot of students or like a lot of high school students do. And then I thought like, oh my God, if I go traveling, then I will have this epiphany that it will come to me what I want to do in my life. But of course it didn't. And then I came back and I thought like, okay, architecture could be really cool. And then I went into something like an internship that was unpaid. So I wanted to go into an office to see if I really want to do it. And they also helped me there to do my first kind of portfolio to get into one of the German architecture schools. And then I got in. And then everything started. So it was a little bit like, I will try this. And I liked it and I did it.
Yeah, like I don't know if you said that, but that you're from Germany, which was also a surprise for me when we started the pre-chit chat conversation, because your name is very... could be Danish in my opinion. Actually, I picked you up because I thought, she has a cool Danish name. She must be very Danish. And then I get a German guest. But also I live myself in Germany, and discovered here it's very common for school students to come. I've had in the offices I have worked, we have had several school students that come for a couple of weeks, and they check like what's the weather, how it is to look to work in an architectural office. And that's I think it's a very nice like system to have. So because I've never seen an architectural office before I actually started working in one. And so these people helped you to get into the university. Where did you study? Where did you apply?
I applied actually only in Münster. So I was very lucky to actually get in. Somehow I'm always a little bit like last minute, and it somehow works out. I cannot say that everybody should do that, but somehow it worked for me. And yeah, I got in, and I went through this whole process of like showing your, portfolio and talking a little bit about what you know about architecture, which architects. And in the office, there was one architect that was previously studying there as well. So she helped me a little bit with the whole process of how to get in, what to talk about, what I should know. And then I started in Münster, and I studied there for 3.5 years, my bachelor. Yes.
How was that experience for you? Was it the way you imagined it, or was it different, or did you have anything that you loved, anything that you hated maybe?
The thing I can say is that I was pretty afraid in the beginning to fail. Maybe also because of the reason that I wasn't one of the students that said from the beginning or since they were 4 years old, oh my God, I'm going to do architecture. This is the only thing I want to do in my life. So I thought maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm failing. So I only felt comfortable after 1 year when I saw that I could actually do it, or at least some people were telling me that I have some talent. And then I enjoyed it a lot because it was a school that was pretty much hands-on. We had a lot of workshops. You could choose your courses. We had architects or like professors that were actually architects and also working at the same time. So you had some kind of connection always to practice, and also seeing building sites and having maybe tasks that were pretty realistic. But also, I mean, in the end, it was basically studying like you would maybe more help out as an architect in an architecture office, or somebody who would be drawing in the end instead of being your own architect or your own boss. It was a little bit more into the direction, learn how to draw a great floor plan or a section, or learn the basics, which was nice. But I think in the end, they didn't so much help you in finding out what you want as an architect on your own.
I see. And you picked that university because that's also the same city you're from, or it's
no, I'm actually coming from a very, very tiny town in the middle of nowhere. It's like 1.5 hours away from Münster, in a region called Gütersloh. And then there's a little village that's called Langenberg, and then there's an even tinier village that's called Bentela, and I'm living actually not in that village, but like on a farm.
Sounds
a
like
bit away from there.
Sounds like a fairy tale. Like there was a little village, and next to the village there was a little village, and
then there was me.
And then there was a house. And
yes.
And then you completed your bachelor there, and did you move somewhere else for your master's, or because you said that you just stayed there 3.5 years?
Yes, I actually worked a little bit after my bachelor studies, because I also had a little bit of a gap where I could apply for schools. And I applied for KDK in Copenhagen, but I didn't get in. But I was pretty sure that I wanted to go to that school, so I moved to Copenhagen and started an internship at BIG. And then I applied the year after I was 1 year intern at BIG, and still didn't get in to the school. But I was very persistent. And then the next year, I applied to many schools at the same time. And then all of a sudden I got in everywhere, which was lucky, but I stayed in Copenhagen. And I started studying at the Royal Danish Academy in a studio that is called CETA, which is basically Center for IT and Architecture. So it was a lot of programming, a lot of Grasshopper coding and this kind of stuff. So a little bit more nerdy maybe. But I liked it a lot.
I love how all you guys that work at Big tell the story about how you got to Big. Like, I was just studying and then I decided I'm going to go to Copenhagen, and I just went to Big, and they got me, and that was everything fine. And like, I have applied like probably 3 times at least and never got a job there. And I guess once of the time it's our former guest Lucian that didn't get me, but that's another story. That was quite a fun podcast. But how did you apply, and when did you discover about Big, and why did you wanted to join there?
I actually applied to a lot of places, but Big was the first one to respond. I was like basically 2 days later, and I got. I didn't even have an interview or anything. It was kind of like, it was only 100 people back then in Copenhagen, and now it's 300. So it was still a little bit smaller, and I just applied online, I think, with this kind of online document and sending your LinkedIn and your portfolio and your CV. And then all of a sudden I had a job there, and none of the other architecture offices even replied me. So that was the first thing. So it wasn't really so much my choice going there, but they actually said yes. And I took the offer, and I could then move to Copenhagen. And I don't know. I mean, it happened like this because they also take a lot of interns at the same time. And it was also the timing around September when we always have a lot of new people coming. That's every year like this, that they stay 1 year and leave again. And I just stayed a long time. So, yeah.
It would be curious if you want, you can decide it later that if you still have that first portfolio to send. You can send it to me, and I'll make like a nice Instagram post from it, so that people who are like...
that's embarrassing. It was like total shit.
But that's not embarrassing. I always like to, for me, it's always nice to see people when they were in their beginnings. Like, instead of, it's easy to see now your project, but it's nice to see from where you started. And I think it's also hilarious that you got a job in one of the like cutting edge offices in the world in the field of architecture, but you couldn't get into the school you wanted to. So what did they what did they require from you to get there, to get in their school?
I think first of all, like even the international studios, they only take 20 people max, and 10 of those people are supposed to be Danish people. So you already have a fairly small chance to get into the studio if only 10 people, international people, are chosen for that very studio. Because you apply for one studio, you don't apply for any. You have to specifically tell why you want to go to CETA, for instance. What's your interests, motivation letter and everything. And then basically a few months later, they just tell you if you're in or if you're out, and you don't get an explanation for why you didn't get in. But I think the sheer number, I mean, that it's so little, just doesn't give you so much chance to actually get in.
I get it. And you wanted exactly this one about Grasshopper and computational design?
Yes. Because maybe out of a different reason than anyone else, because at Big, like everybody was faster using Grasshopper and sooner home than me, because I had to always draw everything manually. And then I thought, like, yeah, fuck that. I'm going to learn that shit. I'm gonna be, the same, and being home at 5. And of course, I'm not home at 5, but at least I got a lot faster with some of the things. And it was also pretty nice because I went into a lot of things that I usually wouldn't do at big. I went into like textiles and a little bit of structural programming with Kangaroo, and that was very fun, which I would also like to do again. But for now, I'm doing real buildings, which is also nice.
Yeah, I think every phase of an architectural project have its own benefits and bad sides or downsides, let's call them. But I'm curious also, what kind of skill sets did you collect in Germany at the university, at your jobs, with which you left then for Copenhagen? Also, of course, like designing buildings, it's obvious, but like, what kind of softwares did you know how to use before joining Big? And what did you need to learn quickly, I guess, on the field?
That's really hilarious, actually, because I came there and I didn't know anything that they needed. So I was actually drawing in Vectorworks, which I think only people in Germany use. I'm not really sure, but if you come to Copenhagen, you say you worked in Vectorworks, they're like, who? What? And so I didn't know AutoCAD. I didn't know ArchiCAD. I basically had the wrong CAD program from the beginning that I learned. And then, of course, they use a lot of Rhino, which I still do. And I needed to get into that fast. And then the standard stuff like Adobe and those things. But Rhino definitely was very fast, intense few first weeks that I had to learn everything. And now I'm basically like a gamer. I don't even know what I'm doing on my laptop anymore. If it's a different keyboard, I'm completely confused because I'm actually not knowing what I'm pressing, but this is kind of the way I'm working now. But yeah, it was tough in the beginning because I was not so skilled with all the software that they actually wanted me to know. But they were also okay with teaching me. So I had a lot of people around me that knew better, and I could ask, and then I learned pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful. You know, if you were about to learn these things on your own, it's difficult. But if you have already people that surround you and you have to do that for at least 8 hours a day, you get good quite quickly. But was it like Rhino or directly Grasshopper? Because Grasshopper, I guess it's not so intuitive from level 0 to any level.
No, it was definitely more Rhino. So a little bit more manually. But there were already, I started in 2015. So there were already some scripts running, like going around in the office, that were pretty specific that you didn't really touch. You just touched some sliders, but that was basically my experience before I went into CETA. So even, I started at Big with not enough knowledge of the software, and I got through it. And I started at CETA with not knowing a lot of Grasshopper, and I got through it. So everybody can do it, I'm pretty sure.
That's what everybody says, and people like me still cannot use it so well. But I could do everything that Grasshopper can with the manual options of Rhino, because in the end of the day, they're connected. I'm also curious because I moved from Italy to Germany, and although it's like, for example, for American people, this would be a very close distance because it's just 1.5 hour flight. But the environment and the culture is completely different. When you moved to Denmark, did you have any culture shock or any was it way different than what you were used to, or it was quite easy to fit in since the beginning. How was your experience? Because for me, it's also interesting. What is the personal experience when you move abroad?
I would say it was easy to adapt because I also came into an office that had like a lot of people from a lot of different countries. So maybe there's, when it comes to percentage, 25 to 30% Danes, but then the rest is super international. So everybody that is new is constantly talking in English and sharing the same fate that you knew in a country, and that you don't know anything about the city. So you go out together and explore everything. So if you start in an office and you have connection to other people, it's easy. I think if you move here and you're waiting to have a job, or you're just home alone, it's so much harder to connect to Danes, for instance, if you don't speak Danish. And then we had a joke also in architecture school that every Dane has 10 friends, and only if one of them dies, then you can basically, fill the gap. Yeah, because they are very specific, maybe about who they're friends with, and they have they spend basically their primary school until high school all together, so they have their friends already from day one forever.
The 10 slots are already filled in the early years.
Yes. So it's hard to, I have some Danish friends now, but it was hard work, I have to say.
Cool. Did you kill anyone or?
No, not yet. But
that's scary.
Oh, at least I cannot say on a podcast,
No, it's funny for me because I had to move in Germany, and then I said the same things about the Germans, and then there is one German person that went northern than Germany and thinks it's the same. It's at least for me personally, it's a little funny and entertaining. And so you manage after 2 years of applications to get into the so wished school from you. Maybe also that you have been applying to 2 times help maybe. How was then your experience studying in that school, and how did you manage to balance it with working at Big, which is probably also an intense experience to have?
Yes, basically it was different than Germany studying there. So I had to adapt a lot to the way they were teaching. It was more like a university, while I was before at a university that's in Germany called Fachhochschule. It's more technical maybe, and more hands down. And all of a sudden I was in a school that was very artistic. Also in Denmark, they have construction architects, and then they have architects. So in this school, I was supposed to become an architect, which is more like the artist part of this whole practice. That's why they also call it Bygningskunst, which is kind of like building art. And do you actually hear me still?
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay, cool. Because my video kind of froze. So I don't know if
only on your side.
Okay, cool. So they call it Bygningskunst. So it was more artistic, the whole study, and they also gave you a lot of freedom. So in comparison to Germany, maybe you would call it a little bit hippie, because you were so free to do whatever you wanted, and maybe the teaching was quite little. I mean, you could basically get a few workshops in the beginning, like 6 weeks workshop, where you get a lot of tools and you learn a lot of new things, and then you can kind of decide what of those tools, which one do you want to use, and go further into depth. And then they leave you alone for half a year, and then you present in the end your project that you established on your own. So it was basically going from a school where I got the task written down and predefined to the last detail. And then I went to a school where they all of a sudden asked me, what do you want to do? And I was just like stunned. I was just like, I don't know. What do I want to do? So for me, it took a few weeks to actually adapt to that and adapt to the fact that I could choose or like explore what I want to do myself, which is actually quite nice. And maybe getting a little bit more into the direction of being an architect on your own or having a business on your own instead of in Germany being a helper for another architect, maybe. So that was pretty much the difference.
But you mean like what you want to do in a sense that you like needed to decide your own tasks on your own, or?
Yes, basically, I needed to decide what's my topic. I mean, you can use Grasshopper, but nobody tells you what to design with it or what is your task. So basically, you could say, I'm very interested in 3D scanning. So you take the tool, you 3D scan, and then you try to start coming up with like your own design tasks within this field. But nobody is stopping you from anything, and nobody would ever tell you, maybe that's not a very good idea, that's very complex. You just dive in, and then if you fail, you fail. But it's very free, and maybe it's also it was good for me because it was more defining what am I actually interested in, which field, what kind of direction do I want to go, instead of just following the task that somebody's giving to me.
Yeah, I think that's it's important while studying, so that you have still the opportunity to detach from all these other topics that come in when you start working in the professional field, which makes it like all very real and all very, constrained, so to say. And I was wondering in the meanwhile, what kind of task did you have when you joined big in the beginning, and then while studying? Were you like doing competitions? Because I guess that's a big part of the whole office, or were you working on projects that have been already ongoing? Because also when you're a student, you cannot be 100% in the office. You have to be part-time, or I guess it was that the solution. So what kind of task did you have to, what kind of projects you work on? You can also say if some of the projects have been already released and which one were they.
The first one was a competition that I joined. So there was 3 months of, a lot of working time, no weekends, and then pushing with a small team to get a result. And we won this competition. That was nice. And then later on, like half a year later, we even basically moved to Tel Aviv to realize the project. So there was a team in Copenhagen staying here to produce, and then a design team was going to Tel Aviv to live there and then also be next to the building site. But the building, the project got stopped, and then we basically went back to Copenhagen. So I cannot say the name or anything of the project because basically it never happened. And that happened actually more than you think, that just things just don't get realized, even if we win competitions or even if we start building. It's a sad truth of the business as well. Even to an office like big, that happens a lot. And then I went into different other competitions, and basically when I went to school and I asked to be part-time, I went into a project that was in SD, which is more like the schematic design that comes up after the competition, which is more slower pace. It's nothing where you change designs every week. And I also basically discussed it with HR that there would be no chance for me to keep up if I'm in a project that is a competition. I need to be on something that I can help with, and that was only SD or DD. And then we found a project, and then I was 2 days a week at BIG, and the rest of the week basically in school to keep up with it. And the 2 days a week also made it possible for me to get something like student support, something what they call in Germany BAföG, where you get basically money from the government. And this money is like about 800 to 900 euro on top of your salary, which makes it very possible to all of a sudden live in an expensive city like Copenhagen. So that was nice. So in the end, BIC actually supported me in becoming an architect and making it possible to stay in the city, because my parents couldn't afford to support me in my lifestyle here. Even I was just a student, but to live in Copenhagen is another way. Like, it's just pricey. So I was very happy that they supported me. I could stay in the architecture field with a job on the side, because of course you can also work in a cafe. But staying in the architecture realm made it also possible for me to keep contact with everyone and stay still in the office and help out and get my experience. I think that's kind of it.
Yes, sounds pretty good. I mean, I understand that because the first Danish people I met in my life were here in Frankfurt. There were some students coming then south from there, and they were like, "Oh, here is so cheap, and we love it, and it's extremely cheap." And then I was coming from Italy, and I was like, "Here is not cheap. Here is expensive." So I think I don't know. In Germany, it's pretty easy. I started like what you call Werkstudent, which it's very easy to get a job when you're a student, and if you try to stay in the student dorm or into a shared flat with some people, it's very doable to survive. Also, I got some money from the Erasmus program while here, so it was pretty easy to make it here. But I've heard that in the Scandinavian countries it gets quite expensive to just stay, or like going to the restaurant, it's like, I don't know, half of the salary of a normal person.
That's very expensive.
And how long was this master degree that you were following, the course you were following there?
2 years, exactly. So, and you don't have so much possibility to extend. So if basically after 2 years you're graduating.
Do you have a lot of possibility to fail during the exams? Is it because you said it's very experimental, so I don't know how it, I mean, I guess that if your idea is not good and then the outcome is not good, maybe you get a bad grade, but do you get do you fail?
I think failing is, I don't think so many people fail at KDK. They get bad grades, yes. But I think the KDK itself maybe doesn't want to keep students over the 2 years, because this is when they get support from the government for that time. And everything that is exceeding this costs them money. So they don't really want to keep you. And if you're bad, they don't want to keep you at all. So I think, I think it's kind of hard to fail, actually, because it's you can do whatever you want, and you also write your own program in the end, what you want to submit for your master thesis. So basically you're the director of whatever is the outcome in the end that you want to present. So the only one that you can disappoint is yourself, because you set the goals, and if you don't reach them, then it's your fault.
I see. And is it the in the education in Denmark for free? Was it the school at least for free, or you needed to pay like a tuition also?
You need to pay a tuition if you're non-European.
Okay.
So if you're European, then it's free, and If you're a Dane, then you get like this 800 euro on top every month, per month basically. And if you're a European foreigner, or also just international students, then you can work 12 hours per week and get this money on top, because it's all connected to paying taxes. So if you have a job and you earn enough money in those 12 hours per week, then you pay enough taxes to be eligible to get this money as a support for your studies.
I see. So this was the way you did it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm curious if you are allowed to reveal this or disclaim it anyhow, because I've had also guests from Zaha Hadid Architects, and they explained me that, for example, there the office is organized into clusters, and there is like a design cluster. I don't know. Then the cluster is subdivided in teams. Then there is like I don't know, different projects that are in the executive phases construction phases. And you mentioned this SD and DD, which is what is the general organization at Big? Are they just teams that works on different projects, or are like also like some sort of bigger clusters that are competitions? I know also that in Denmark you have the specific studies for construction architect, which is different than what is common designer architect. So if you can say a little bit more about how the whole environment looks like.
So, for instance, if I start a project that is whatever competition or even commission, we get a team, but the team is never the same. So it's a little bit more specific to whatever the task is and what maybe somebody already worked on before in another competition. If it's, for instance, a hospital, not everybody did that before. So they try to get the architects in the office to do it that did it before already, or have some experience from that field from another office maybe. So that's very specific on what kind of task it is, which language is required, because we're building all over the world. So if there's, for instance, a Chinese project, of course, they also would like to have Chinese people on it. And then I don't think we have really clusters, but there's something that we call Big Leap, which is basically L stands for big landscape. So we have landscape architects working for the projects, and they sitting kind of in their own group, but they're helping out with a lot of projects. Then we have Big E, which is big engineering, and we have of course the architects, and then we have also some kind of like product design, which is also related to big ideas, that are doing all the computational stuff in the office. All the grasshopper things that people might not know. So they're helping out with that. And I mean, when I start a project and I don't know everything from the beginning, because I'm only, I graduated like 2 years ago. So I can go around in the office and I have an expert almost for anything that I have a question about. So if I need an engineer, I can just go there and have a meeting. They are not external, they're just sitting with us. So that's quite nice, that we have like so much expertise in the office. It's basically like a beehive that is always being mixed up, and different experts are brought together for one project, and it's more project specific than really built into clusters, you can say. So everyone could do anything if they have experience or goodwill, or the partners think that you can do that, then that team will be assembled.
And in such an environment, you said basically the language in the office which is spoken, it's mainly English, I guess. Have you managed to learn Danish in the meanwhile, or it's a very hard task? I guess that maybe for German native it's a little easier.
Yeah, I think it's easier to learn Danish if you're German. I can speak a few things, but I'm definitely not like fluent, or I can understand sometimes. I mean, it's close to German, but then again, you think you hear something and they're just way too fast, or they swallow half of the word, and then you maybe misunderstand. So the main language stays kind of English almost in the office. But I mean, I'm working almost only on Scandinavian right now, on Danish projects. And I'm learning more and more Danish just because I'm forced to, because meetings all of a sudden, sometimes they just switch to Danish, or emails are in Danish. My partner in charge stands next to me and all of a sudden forgets that I don't speak Danish. And so I'm learning the hard way now. But I mean, they also offer courses and stuff. I just never had the time to take any of them. So I hope maybe in the future I can.
I can tell you that for me it was the same with German, and now I can read, for example, construction documents or laws about construction. But if you give me a regular newspaper, I don't know what is written inside of it.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me.
So you managed to finish the school 2 years ago, and you said that the only person that you can disappoint is yourself. Did you disappoint yourself, or were you happy with yourself? And how did that go, and what was your, I don't know, final project?
I think actually in the beginning I was kind of disappointed, even though it went super well. I cannot complain about anything. Just that I think I just wanted to do too much. So the program that I was writing, based on what my results should be in the end, was just way too broad. I wanted to do everything. And in the end, I also managed, but I was completely wiped out. I just didn't want, even at that point, I just didn't want to do architecture anymore. I thought like, no, I'm done. Like, this is it. Like, I'm not doing over hours anymore. I'm not working. I'm doing only things with my hands now, because I did so much computation and I was constantly just on my computer that I thought like, no, I'm becoming a bricklayer now. This is it. And then I took a break, and while having this break and while more time was passing, I more and more like my project again. So it was a hate love in the end, and I wanted to forget, but now I actually like it a lot, because it was bringing all the things that I learned in school together. Because in CETA you're more likely to do maybe components or material testing, because doing computation is sometimes like not difficult, but like time consuming also, or building those scripts that you easily stay in a smaller scale and you don't go into architecture scale, building scale. So basically I went all those 2 years through a lot of studies about textiles, from going like hacking a knitting machine and weaving my own fabrics, to in the end proposing an architectural scale project that was about textiles and calculating the wind and how it's affected by it. And it's still a hate love, but I think I actually like it.
How good at math are you? That's the general question always.
Good at math?
How good are you?
I think I'm pretty good, actually.
That's the first honest person we have in this podcast that has a computational design skills and doesn't say, I don't even know maths.
No, I think I have a good understanding also but I think you can do computation without knowing all of it. But I think if it comes into like structural engineering, which was a lot of this textile design that I did, then you need to know a little bit at least.
Yes, I think it's also interesting how you went from, I don't know, wanting to be a singer or some sort of painter, and then you tell your parents, oh, now I'm doing I don't know, structural engineering, and I'm calculating structures.
Yeah, but not at the level where like structural engineers would work. But I mean, for that level, it was enough, and I understood it. So I'm not comparing myself to a structural engineer. I would never do that. So nobody should be insulted right now.
No, it's okay. I get it, because, for example, when I studied in Rome, we needed to do the calculation of some structures, because in Rome the school tends to teach you a little bit of everything. And I remember that I studied in an artistic high school, so my math base was not so strong and solid as other students. So I remember I could learn to solve the exercises and calculate the structures. But if you wanted to get the best grade, you needed to go to like an exam where you actually explain all the theorems and stuff that you used. But that was optional. Like if you do that, you get a better grade, and if you don't do it, your grade is just downgraded to whatever it's the minimum. Never participated. I was like, I don't want to explain stuff. I can do it. It's fine. so that I always thought, like, you don't want me to hear me like explaining math. I'll probably fail the exam even if it's not possible. And so you finished, and then you went back to full power big directly.
No, I actually took some months off, like 3 or 4, and I had some good connection to one of the partners at Big that I also worked with on something on the side, because he was producing a TV show in Denmark. I don't know how you would call that. It's a little bit like Pimp My House, maybe. So like the normal people come around and they want to have like a new extension for their building, or they bought a lighthouse and they want to have it refurbished. Then one of those partners comes along and is designing for them. So I was working with him on this TV show. So we had good connections together through my school year, and then in the end he wanted me as his sidekick at Big. So he wanted to hire me, and I said no, I'm actually really not sure that I want to go back. I'm kind of done with architecture, like being 29 and retiring. And he was very, very persistent. So he tried several times through those months to hire me, and to be honest, I was kind of fine with being a little bit at home, being a little bit in Denmark, and getting A-kassen, which is some kind of like government money that you get when you study but you don't get a job. So it was fine. I was stable. I earned money even though I was not working. So I enjoyed my laziness for a bit the first time. And he was just proposing different projects to me, and I was just like, nah, I don't want to. So it was pretty diva for some time, and then I thought, like, the 4th time that he comes to me, probably he will not propose anything anymore after this, so maybe I should get one of those offers. And then he proposed building a factory in the forest in Norway. And then I was kind of hooked, because I thought, like, oh my God, we're doing a sustainable project at Big. I mean, we do a lot of hedonistic sustainability, of course, but like real certified sustainability projects, I mean, they're difficult and maybe also still rare in a lot of companies. And I thought, like, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to change the world. I'm coming back and I'm going to do this project. And here I am now. Yeah, so they got me with this one. And I'm here. I'm still at Big, and I'm still enjoying it, because now I do a lot of Scandinavian projects that are maybe a little bit more small, and they get a little bit more time, because not all of them are competitions. So this is how I got back in, I would say.
It sounds like the story of retired Avengers, like they're trying to convince Tony Stark to go back in the team. And
Yes.
you've managed to to get back? You were like, okay, only for this time.
Only this time, but they
only-
always get you.
Only this time. Well, this is how you get people with persistency,
Yes.
asking the same question 4 times. And
I mean, they are partners for a reason.
yes. But I mean, they probably have seen some, like, not probably, for sure, they have seen some quality in you, which it's very valuable for the company and your skills. And you sound, I like that a lot of people sound so easygoing, but I mean, when you think, it's like, I mean, how many other companies are in the world that are on the same level? I don't think there are so many. There are like maybe 10 maximum. So it's I think it's remarkable. And so you went for this role as a team leader, as I understood, or design leader for this factory. So how did your daily work start looking like? What were the challenges? What was different? What were you scared of the task a little bit at some point?
I actually was surprisingly, I was not scared at all. I was a lot of times scared about all my architecture projects at school, but maybe the last one hit me so hard that I thought, like, I don't care so much anymore. But it was more like, what do I have to lose? I'm a starting architect. I just came out of school. I get the salary, the minimum salary that you get when you just have no experience as an architect. Just kind of settled at a certain level anyways in Denmark. It's not like you can negotiate the level. It's basically a base salary that you get anyways. So I was like, what would they do? They would kick me out and I would go back to ACAS. And so I thought, like, kind of, I have nothing to lose and it's the first time I can prove myself. And I also was very lucky in that sense that I had like a small team, 2 South American girls with me. That was really cool, like, just to work in that team, have a lot of fun and enjoy actually designing something for also a very nice client, because it's a Norwegian client that is so into sustainability and making a difference with what he wants to build, or what he also wants to sell, because he's a furniture manufacturer. And he's doing sustainable outdoor furniture, and this family company already exists since the 1950s. So he's taking over this legacy and turning it into like a super sustainable business, and taking the factory also to show that you can build up a business in a high-cost country like Norway without exporting some work to low-cost countries. You can manage to actually do so and make profit. And it was just so nice working with him. He's just 3 years older than me. We became friends quite quickly. He helped me in the whole process of actually becoming a design leader, because he was doing all the communication with me together. I was sending him updates every week, like we also send to Bjarke every week. So he got the information right away. It was just very smooth as a starting project. It was small enough to learn. The team was great. The client was great. The intention was great. And now it's getting built. I cannot ask for more, actually.
Yeah, I think it's also the project that recently has been shared a lot around the social media of the big company, because I think with wooden constructions it gets quite fast, as everything is prepared for the construction, prefabricated. What size was or still is the team you were leading? And I'm also curious, like, if you had to, I don't know, learn or adapt to some things while leading people, because I guess that maybe that's a little bit of a different factor at some point when you have people that you have to be in charge of.
The team size was changing over time in each phase, because at some point when we ended the design phase, we got then construction architects on the team that would take care of a lot of the drawing set and making it buildable and checking all the details. So I was not in charge alone anymore. You can say it like this, because you get an experienced construction architect on your side. I'm still the design lead, but I have more expertise all of a sudden in the team. So I'm learning a lot from each end that is joining the team, because being a design lead doesn't mean that you lead all the decision making. So you still have a partner in charge. You have still Bjarke that is looking over it, and then you have a team that is mainly older than me, like the construction architects that also build a lot of things already. So I'm learning every time in every new project a little bit more about how those processes work and how we're moving on from SD to DD to construction drawings, because it's not very often in a company like big that you stay with a project until the end. Usually, if you're a young architect, you are looping through competitions maybe. So you get a lot of experience in competitions, but you don't get so much experience about building site or how to deal with clients or consultants, for instance. So I'm very lucky that I could go through all those differences and how the team was growing and then shrinking again. And now it's only a few people that are just watching the construction site. And then you also learn that people are joining the team that don't know so much about the process. You know, you get new freshly baked students or interns that you need to teach. So what I probably have to learn most still in the process is to involve them and teach them, and also give them a good time to be on the team and be passionate about what they're doing. I try to involve them as much as possible in every meeting and, you know, take them with me everywhere. But I think this is something that we forget, that all of a sudden we know things and then we cannot accept that other people don't know. So I try to be a little bit more sensitive about that fact that I need to also, that I have a responsibility for the people coming in, just staying 6 months or 1 year, or like me back then, even 2 years, but they want to have their experience and they want to learn too. And as a team leader, I'm kind of responsible for that as well.
Yeah, at some points you have to a little bit detach and think back on the time where you were starting, and that there were people that were being comprehensive and kind and like accepting your stupid mistakes. And then
yes, definitely.
Because sometimes I have the same experience. Like I've been working, I'm graduated also like you in 2019, but I've been working full time already a year before or something like that. And then I notice sometimes that I look a little impatient with someone that's younger, or not even younger, but maybe less experienced. And I then, when I notice that I'm a little impatient, I just stop and take my time to share my knowledge at my best, so that these people are, because also when you teach them, then they actually become more independent, and then the next time they will be able to solve the tasks on their own. And
yes.
And that's very important to give them task and trust, and even if they fail, it happens. So I think it's normal. And what is the role of Bjarke in the project you've worked on, or in any project? Is he more or less like the creative director that gives like suggestions and guides the direction, or is he the front man? What was the work with him, and what is his role?
He's our leader, and we worship him all. No, I'm kidding. Um, he's basically he gets from every team, every design team. He gets updates every week, so he's always fed with information about each project, and then he gives comments to it. And then we also have charrettes, which are basically presentations where all the partners are in a room and Bjarke as well, and you present the project and it states where it is. And then it's basically like a big discussion round where everybody gives their ideas. And if we took a direction already for a design, then they kind of approve, or they give a lot of ideas in those presentations. And then basically right now during Corona time, he was a lot in Copenhagen actually, because he's also always traveling around to every office, because we have one in London and Barcelona and New York. So usually he was a lot in New York and traveling around. But due to Corona, he came back to Copenhagen, to his home country, Denmark. And then he was around a lot in the office, so you saw him more in person, and you were sitting down with him, discussing stuff, sketching. And I mean, it's just very friendly. It's just when you see him, he has always great ideas, and he's not maybe into all the details always, but he keeps the big vision that a project started from the beginning. And if you start to drift away from this vision because of construction costs and cost cutting, and the team is changing, then he's basically the one that brings you back to your original vision, I would say. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's also somehow you have to have such a person in the office to keep sort of the line or the quality, if you want to call it that way. Although, like, I don't think that, I mean, somehow you can recognize a Bjarke Ingels project in the spirit, but not really in the looking. Like, it's not like, for instance, I don't know, Zaha Hadid project or Norman Foster project, where you pretty much know what to expect. It's sometimes unexpectedly different. But there is this sort of, you maybe as a user you don't even recognize it, but as another architect that observes buildings, you can see, oh yeah, that I can see that could be a project from the office. And I was wondering, like, do you have sort of a, you explained that in Denmark there is like a regulation about the salary you can get. How does that work? Like, after how many years you get, like, do you get licensed like are you a licensed architect right after you have graduated, or how does this then standards are growing and you're more valued, so to say, even economically?
When you graduate in Denmark from an architecture school, you're right away a licensed architect. You just have to basically sign into the architects association in Denmark, and you pay basically like a monthly fee to be inside of it. And then you get also courses and everything, basically a little bit like the German one, I think, as well. The difference is that you don't need to prove that you have those 2 years experience and a lot of courses collected. You're basically a full-grown architect right away. And that also means that you have a base salary that nobody can say that you actually earn less than this, which is nice, because I think also in Germany, some offices just pay you less, some a little bit more, and they kind of can, set the price on their own. Even though we have also something like the Chamber of Architects that should protect us from those kind of weird defaults. And when you have your base salary, then you can still negotiate. So you can say like you have more experience, and you can talk about it if the salary is enough for you. And then each year in March or April, after the tax year kind of ends, you have the negotiation to change your contract and how much you earn. So in that time frame, you basically go into a meeting, say this is the responsibility that I took over. It's more than actually I expected, or you just talk about what's your experience. And if you're very good, they say yes. If you're not so good, then they say no. Mostly they say no. But you can always negotiate. And then after, I think every 5 years or every 3 years, anyways, by this association of architects, they need to adapt their salary to, I don't know, 5,000 kronas more. Every 5 years, I think. So, but usually you can negotiate more already before that time.
I understand. Well, I think in Germany it's there is a range, but it's very similar among offices because at least in Frankfurt, where I live and work, the market regulates itself. Because if some studio it's paying way less than the others, then just people go away and they move to another office. It's very like it depends really on some offices maybe have this politic to say, okay, we're gonna just switch more often people that work here, and doesn't matter the cost of educating those people within the system. Or so I mean, I don't think it's that bad. It's funny because I come from Italy and Bulgaria, which it's way worse. So for me here was a pretty big improvement. And then after I was settled into the system, then I started having also my own, requirements and standards as it is fair to be. And how long are you still on this project? I think it's pretty fast paced, isn't it? Gonna be finished soon?
Yeah, it's gonna be finished in December, so they're pretty fast. It's now halfway through construction, I think. In beginning of July, we have all 4 wings and the roundabout in the middle done for this kind of plus-shaped building. And and then it's basically only a few months left, and then it's finished. And then probably in the beginning of next year, maybe spring next year, we will have an opening.
Do you go often to the construction place? Because you said it's in Norway, so I guess it involves traveling. How does that work?
We were not able to travel to Norway since October.
Oh, because of the...
So we didn't see it. For us, it's still fiction.
Aha, okay. Maybe you have some webcam on the construction place or something.
Yes, we have like a 24-hour webcam where we see everything, and they always send us pictures, and the client is going through that with the camera. Everything is being documented to the maximum, so we don't miss out. But it's just different if you could be there. And I hope they're opening up in July, because right now they're just still closing down for everyone that is not Norwegian.
Oh yeah, because Norway, it's not even EU. They're like their own. They're on their own. They're like, we do whatever we want.
Yes.
And do you still have like, because you are okay, you still have other people on top of like you in the chain of command, but do you still manage to be a lot of the time hands on the project, like actually drawing and designing and planning? Or due to your more leader's role, you need to be more on, as you said, emails and organization and things like that?
No, because there's a difference between a project leader or a design lead and a project manager. So usually in a team, you have also a project manager that is taking more care of all the like emails and correspondence. So I'm more hands-on, so I'm still drawing a lot, and I'm not only involved in this Vestra project. I'm also right now. In the meantime, I also did 3 other projects at the same time. So I'm only like right now maybe 20% on the project, only overviewing things and drawing things have to be decided that are design related. So yeah, it's basically that I moved also on to other projects that need to get built soon.
And in the past, when you started, are there any other project you have worked on that maybe have been already built, and you can mention them?
I mean, you're sitting in Frankfurt, so you probably know the tower from Big in Frankfurt.
Yes. I actually
Yes.
met Bjarke once here by accident in the city center, because I was passing by, and he came for the celebration of the foundation of the building, and I met him and Andreas Clark Pedersen, which is also one of the partners. So I met him like for really on the street for 10 seconds. I was like, what? You're Bjarke Ingels here? And yeah. And he was very friendly actually. And so I've been also in the tower because there've been an event here in Germany. There was like this company Jung called like Jung Lectures. And they did like walk through the building, and there I met Kai Uwe Bergman was here also. He gave a lecture, and they've been here also for the prize from the high rise via 57 in New York. So there was a period of time where they were very often here in Frankfurt. So through the events, when the events were live, like in person, I got to meet them. So you have been working on this tower.
Yeah, on the facade. Like I was working for some time, but that was when I was still an intern. So it's a long time ago, but I was involved in this one.
I have a take off on that project because they said like Bjarke Ingels Group make these crazy projects, but they needed to do a project for Germany, so they just needed to take a box and shake it a little bit in the middle.
Yes, so we did it very subtle, so the Germans would not be shaken to their core.
Yes, so I was like, that was the best they could get, a little shaken box. No, but it looks nice, and it gives you interesting perspectives when you walk around the cities, because when you come from the other side of the river and you see this shaken tower, it's really funny. It really looks like the tower is trying to move away from the street. And now we can enjoy it because in front of this tower they're gonna build 4 more towers from UN studio, and until then we have the whole view on the Tower of Big, so it's nice.
Nice.
Have you ever been yourself to visit it here?
No, actually not. I haven't been to Frankfurt ever since. So I only was sitting on renderings and the facade and everything, but I never visited. But maybe next time I'm in Germany, I'm gonna go.
You're invited then in person to come meet for coffee or something, hopefully soon, so that
hopefully we can get a tour or something.
And did you manage to see any other of your projects built, and were there any others which were completed already and you've seen live?
Actually, no. The factory will be my first one. I was also involved in a project, another tower in Singapore, which is getting built right now. But I also haven't been there, so I mean Frankfurt would be a little bit more easy. But otherwise, I haven't seen anything built. So this factory will be my first baby.
First architectural baby, at least.
Yes.
And So you said you find Denmark to be a quite nice place where you would actually stay for longer, and you have no plans so far to come back to live maybe in Germany or.
No plans yet. I also have to always disappoint my family that I probably won't come back. But you never know. I'm not settled down or anything. I'm still open to go anywhere. But for now, I mean, I have great projects that I'm working on and very nice opportunities. If that's stopping at some point, then it's time for me to move on.
I think it's a very nice to talk to you because you're very positive, very like I don't know, easy going on complex things, which I guess it's the main
That's why they hired me. What do you think?
Yes, they were like, we're gonna give her hard tasks. She's clueless. She's gonna manage. So I think I don't know. I think we have covered most of the topics. I wanna remark again that you really kick ass.
Thanks.
It's nice to talk to people like you to I don't know, discover who is behind these great projects and great teams, and that if anyone else want to try it, if there is a will, there is a way. So I want to thank you one more time for being on the show and taking your time even on the weekend to chat. And
and it's sunny outside. You should be grateful.
Yes, and here it's cloudy, so I'm fine. I'm like, it's you bad. Last but not least, where can people find a little bit more about you online?
Probably on Instagram or LinkedIn. Basically, I'm always open for personal messages. That's no problem. You can always reach me under my name. If you see my name in this podcast and you Google it, you will find me.
We'll add all the links in the description so that people can click and directly follow you or contact you for any further questions or curiosities they might have. And thank you one more time. And I wish you a great rest of the sunny day in Copenhagen.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Just like that.
Hey friends, thank you very much for listening to this podcast. You've been amazing. Before we go, I just want to remind you that if you want to support us, you can just go on the creativeinsider.com where you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter, or you can follow us on our social media channels, which are Instagram at TCI Podcast or the LinkedIn page, The Creative Insider. By doing this, you will have a bigger social media presence, which always looks attractive to more and more important guests. And so this is very fundamental. And if you really love what we do and you want to help us doing a better production, just click on the Patreon link below where you can support us with the wished amount of money you think it's okay for you. It's a monthly subscription, but you can cancel anytime. So thank you very much and have a good week, guys. Bye-bye.
The whole world stops just like that.